Welcome to the Arkansas Cattle Business Podcast, brought to you by the Arkansas Cattlemen's Association. Here, we dive into the heart of Arkansas's cattle industry, where legislation, education, advocacy, and development come together to support the hardworking cattle producers of the natural state. Whether you're in the pasture or on the road, this is your connection to the people, policies, and programs shaping the future of our industry. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Arkansas Cattle Business Podcast. I am your co-host, Michelle Buffkin-Horton.
So you're the co-host this time.
We're all co-hosting. There's two of us, we share it.
That's true. And I'm your other co-host, Norley Townsend.
So, yeah, we're just trying. It's been a long time since
it has been a long time.
We have sat in this room and recorded a podcast together.
Very long time. I haven't been on the podcast in like 2 months. So, hello, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back. No, we're excited to be here, even though most of the topics I feel like that we have to talk about are not that that I have to talk about are not that exciting. But luckily, you get the fun piece. So, one of the biggest things is it's now October, and so what does that mean for the cattlemen? That means we are very much on the road, going to production cells, going to field days, going to county meetings. It also means that a lot of our producers are out in the field checking for calves every day. And so it's a fun time. It doesn't feel like fall outside. It's like 90-something degrees, but it's nice to pretend.
It is a little cooler at night, I will say.
It's nice to pretend that it's fall, at least. So you get the fall activities like the sales and the calving and everything else. So it's a good time. What are you most looking forward to in this season? Like we're in the fourth quarter now. So like we're literally like it is. I had to do the math the other day. I was like, oh, it is Q4 in fact. Probably going and traveling, like you said, to sales and everything, getting to see our members and things like that. Like this past weekend, I went to the Cattlemen's Progressive meeting. Only got to go for a short time because I had an event I had to get to. But that was fun, getting to see our members and different things. Yep. Yeah, and I got to go to one of our members' first annual ever production sales, and so that was very, very exciting to see their hard work and all the effort they put in come to fruition. So it's a fun time. It's exciting. But with that, I mean, we can hop right into what will be a very fairly lengthy Hats on the Hill portion of this. We do have our hat today, courtesy of Norley, though.
Yep, it's mine. Well,
Randy.
Technically courtesy of Randy because
Always.
He got it for me. But, yeah.
Always. the man buys hats for more than himself.
He does. He really does.
And so, yeah. But yeah, so we've got our hat for our Hats on the Hills today. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done a Hats on the Hill, so I will remind you that obviously we are not in legislative session for Arkansas. They are having a lot of committee meetings right now here in Arkansas just to continue keeping the government functioning. And so there'll be a little bit about that, but not nearly as much as we are going to talk about the federal government. And so we're going to end with the government shutdown because we are now recording this on October the 1st, and so it has officially occurred. So I'm going to end my update with that, but we're going to start with good news, and then it just gets progressively worse throughout my update, and then we are able to share good news at the end with Norley's piece of updates. So one of the good news pieces that I did want to talk about is the Emergency Livestock Relief Program. So back in the summer, if you remember, we talked about ELRP, so the Emergency Livestock Relief Program. That program was geared for people that went through a drought in 2023 and 2024. We had over 20 counties that were eligible for the funding there. That one was an automatic payment. If you got an LFP payment in either of those years, money just showed up in your bank account or showed up at your mailbox. And so that was a great opportunity for producers. Part of the reasoning for that was, and one of the big reasons we pushed for it was because we know the drought monitor is broken. We know the drought monitor is not as effective of showcasing what the conditions are like on the ground. And so this additional payment was a way to help override or equal out that a little bit of like, okay, well, we know you were technically probably at a D3, even though you're only at a D2. And so those payments were hopefully to help that. And then We were told at the time there would be more information coming about an ELRP flood program. And so that was in the summer. We just 2 weeks ago, I think, got the details for the ELRP flood program. And I'm going to pull it up here so I don't misquote the counties. And so, again, the 2023 and 2024 year, this is only for producers that were affected by by a flood. This took a little bit longer for USDA to put together because it is one of the first of its kind. They have not necessarily given out disaster payments based on flooding in this regard for livestock producers. Specifically, I will say that. They do it all the time for row crops, not for livestock producers. And so there were 11 counties. I say that. Yeah, there are 11 counties who got Clay, Craighead, Crittenden, Cross, Greene, Independence, Jackson, Lawrence, Lee, Mississippi, Monroe, Phillips, Poinsett, Randolph, Sharp, St. Francis, White, and Woodruff counties are all eligible for a payment from the USDA through the ELRP program. I will specify, unlike the drought payment, this one is not a automatic payment. And so if you are in one of those eligible counties, all you have to do is reach out to your FSA office. We'll talk about that here in a second with the government shutdown. But reach out to your local county FSA office and apply and just sign the application. You don't have to provide any supplemental documentation because you're already in an approved county. And so they'll be able to answer any questions and go forward from there. And then I will note that we are still continuing to work with the governor's office and the Department of Finance and Administration to ensure that those payments are exempt from Arkansas state income tax. We have legislation was passed back in 2013, 2015, that said that if a livestock producer, if a cattle producer receives payments for a disaster program, it is exempt from Arkansas state income taxes, and then it lists out the specific programs. Since the ELRP program did not exist when that legislation was created, it is not listed. And so we just have to get confirmation from the governor's office and from DFNA that that is the case. And so we are working on that, and we'll keep you updated as soon as we have it. And so that is the good news, is there is some relief coming. While we know, again, it's not the perfect solution to the drought monitor, and it does not necessarily at all affect producers this year. It does provide money for this year for previous years. And so I do think we'll probably start seeing a few more ad hoc programs coming up through USDA. And so that's your ELRP program. We also, like I said, we'll start with good news. Just progressively less good news, I guess. And so the next piece of legislative updates I have for you is that New World Screwworm was found in Nuevo Leon, Mexico, which is only 70 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. And so that was, I had asked Norley before we started recording, I was like, was that just last week? That was just last week that we found that out. It was a Sunday at like 10 o'clock p.m. when I got the email. And so Monday morning, I was like, oh, wow, great. I was already in bed. And so 6 a.m., 6:30 when I woke up Monday morning, I was like, oh, what a great way to start the day. And so that previously, if you did not know, New World Screwworm was about 370 miles from the U.S.-Mexico border. And so in one day, it went 300 miles because there was a 8-month-old animal that was tested and moved that ended up testing positive for New World Screwworm in Mexico. And so it was also on a major thoroughfare in Mexico. And so you're seeing there's a lot of movement there. But since then, we have not heard of any cases coming any closer. But that is still incredibly concerning, as you can imagine, for Arkansas cattle producers, for cattle producers all across the nation, because there are very limited ways to prevent and to fight New World Screwworm. I know we are working on getting some approvals for different vaccines and different drugs that would be able to treat New World Screwworm, although it's not necessarily what they were made for. We're working on getting approvals for those drugs, but right now there's only, I believe, one on the market for it. And so, to this date, the U.S.-Mexico border remains closed to livestock, and so Secretary Rollins is doing everything she can to limit the progression of New World Screwworm into the United States, but I know for a fact it doesn't understand borders. It's not going to stop just because it hits a border, and it's not necessarily only limited to livestock. And so that's going to be the concern is, yes, while the border may be closed to livestock, it has the ability to travel on deer, on other mammals, on all kinds of things. And so we will be keeping y'all up to date on that. We have more information on our social media about what to look for with New World Screwworm. Again, it is not here yet, but it pays to pay attention, and so keeping an eye out down the road. So, not fun news there for you. And then my last and final update is discussing the government shutdown. So if you don't know, by the time we record this, knock on wood, maybe we won't be shut down. But as of October the 1st, the government is shut down for the first time since 2018. In 2018, we had a 35-day government shutdown. Over the holidays, a lot of times it was December 22nd, 2018, when it shut down and opened back up in January. And so a lot of that carried over through the holidays. And so maybe the impact wasn't quite as felt for a lot of producers because they weren't necessarily going to their local FSA offices or anything over the Christmas break. But this time, obviously, we're in October. We have a disaster application that just opened up, and here we are with another government shutdown. So the biggest question is always, why does the government shut down? October 1 starts a new fiscal year. We have to have an appropriations bill for the fiscal year, and so there's two ways to do that. You can either pass an appropriations bill, pretty difficult, you can do it. You can pass an appropriations bill, so creating a budget, or you can pass a continuing resolution that will just say, hey, we're going to keep going and kick the can down the road, and later on we will deal with the appropriations bill. So the House passed a CR. They passed a continuing resolution and said, we'll deal with this in a little bit. Let's just make sure the government stays functioning. And last night, so September 30th was the deadline, and so last night, I believe 2 or 3 times, the Senate voted on two times at least. They voted on 2 different CRs, and so neither one of them passed. So there was a CR that kept a lot of things the same. And very similar to the House, and there's a bill from the other side of the aisle that would have increased some spending, and so there was no agreement on either of those bills. They both failed, meaning here we are at a stopgap. Here we are at a crossways where we can't go anywhere else. They voted again, the Senate voted again this morning, and it failed again. And so we will see. Do we continue voting on these same exact bills? Do we have new bills come up? Do we have new discussions? Are we willing to meet in the middle? How long is too long? I don't know. If I had the answers to that, I would not be in this like this here. I think if I had a crystal ball, I could tell you how long this would last. But what I can tell you is how this affects cattle producers. A lot of times people are like, oh, what do you even care about a government shutdown anyway? Because it will and can. It can and definitely will affect our industry, and it can and will affect the daily operations for cattle producers to some extent, depending on length. And so, biggest thing that will be changing for producers, let me make sure I have my correct notes here because I just typed this up for y'all. The biggest thing to know is that this is fluid, so we're recording this on Wednesday, October the 1st. There's no telling if this is going to be the case, but this is 2:30 now. There's no telling this is going to be accurate by 3 o'clock. Like, there's a lot of fluidity, a lot of things changing. Some of the government agencies did not even have a contingency plan or a shutdown plan until last night. Some of them didn't have one until today. And so we will keep you all updated. We're working on a way to house that information on our website so that way you can go and see and find the most up-to-date information of what services are available or are not available. One of the biggest pieces that's going to affect producers is that market news reports, which are mainly usually in our industry thought of as your auction barn reports or your sale barn reports are going to halt. And so they have actually already halted, mainly due to the database system this ran by the federal government, and so there's no access to it here at the state level. But that also includes hay reports. It includes grain reports. So it has some other pieces. While livestock mandatory reporting will happen, LMR will happen, is required by law. That is not necessarily the individual. That is not the individual auction reports, and so it's not able. The price transparency is not quite there on the individual auction reports coming up. Next one is New World Screwworm. So that's a big one. Emergency efforts to combat the New World Screwworm outbreak in Mexico will continue uninterrupted. And so any employees that are there in Mexico or are at the Texas border trying to protect the cattle supply and the food supply from New World Screwworm will remain and will continue. However, that is a question mark on whether the facility that they are building for New World Screwworm in Texas, if production on that facility will halt during this government shutdown. And so, while yes, we'll be able to track it and keep an eye on it, we might not be able to keep forward progress toward these facilities. Next, and another big one for producers, is disaster assistance. Implementation and processing of weather-related disaster assistance payments, including any supplemental disaster assistance like the ELRP program that we just discussed, will halt during a shutdown. So that good news that we started with is like, okay, well, maybe right now you can't. And so you actually cannot necessarily apply right now. And if you did apply, you will not be receiving your money until after the government shutdown is over. And so just keep that in mind. The current deadline is October the 30th for the ELRP program. We will let you know if that deadline changes as we move through this government shutdown. We're not sure how long it'll take, so we don't know if they're going to move the deadline or not. Along that line, the FSA, so the Farm Service Agency, on day 1 through 10 of the shutdown, the only FSA staff on call will be minimal regional leadership and headquarters staff. In case of a natural disaster, from day 10 onwards, if the shutdown continues, each FSA center will be required to have one farm loan employee at the county or one county office farm program employee on call to complete certain loan processing items. But that is not going to be your disaster assistance. It's going to be more of your actual FSA loans. And so day 1 through 10, essentially from this, which comes directly from the FSA office, is that they will be shut down. And then after day 10, they will start requiring someone to be there. And then state-wise, while yes, this is a federal government shutdown, we do have programs in the state of Arkansas that are ran and funded by the federal government. And so two of the biggest ones for that are from in the Department of Agriculture and the University of Arkansas System Division of Agriculture. And so the Department of Ag and Extension Services. As of right now, both organizations have said they are not impacted. They'll be business as usual, so both organizations are open and providing services as usual. However, as the shutdown continues, that will get more difficult. That will change because they cannot go indefinitely on alternate funds. And so to be able to have employees, you have to be able to pay them. To be able to pay them, you need to have the federal government open and functioning. And so it just depends on the length of this government shutdown. And so from the Department of Agriculture standpoint, they have specified they're not going to stop working. They're still going to be available and be on call, especially in case of an outbreak. If it goes past 3 months, which is a pretty long, last government shutdown was 35 days. So if it goes past 3 months, we'll see. Things will get a lot more difficult, maybe coming out of the state of Arkansas's budget, but they will still be available. And so the one other thing that they did want to point out is that unless there is an outbreak, there'll be delayed access to tracebacks because a lot of it is in the database system that the federal government has, which has already kind of stopped working. And so that's a very brief one. A very brief overview of some of the biggest things that are going to affect producers. The biggest piece of it is to document any issues that occur that you may need government assistance with. So if you need to work with APHIS, or you need to work with Fish and Wildlife, or you may need to work with FSA down the road, go ahead and document issues as they occur, and so that way you have them later on down the road, because you will not be able to necessarily share them right this time. And so, yeah, that's where we stand. It is interesting. It is day one of the shutdown. We will see, again, how long this lasts, and we will work to keep you all updated of what is going on, and knowing that things can change and probably will change fairly frequently within this. But the good news is we know our producers are still out there working every single day. Just because the government shutdown is occurring does not mean that y'all are not working, but it is hard to produce and protect the food supply in the United States without having some of these services available to our producers. So we'll continue working for a hopefully swift resolution to this. So that's your what feels like very depressing Hats on the Hill update. We'll see. The other thing I did want to talk about is that there is, maybe it's good news, maybe it's bad news, who knows, you can take it your way. There's been a lot of rumors circulating on social media recently, or last week or two, about the USDA creating a heifer retention program for producers and paying them to keep their heifers. The number was debated on Facebook of what that was going to be, but that's where it lives. It's Facebook and social media. Secretary Rollins came out late last week, early this week, and specified that that program was not the case. That program is not, there's no plans at this point in time to create a USDA heifer retention program that pays producers to keep their heifers. So, did just want to address that rumor that was there, because there was a lot of interesting conversations about markets and how that could affect, and every other piece of it there. So there's your federal update. Feels like there's so much. There's your federal update. So with that, while we had a very busy week keeping up with everything that is happening in DC and across the nation, we also had a very busy week in the last couple of weeks with ACA events. And so Norlee's going to give us the much happier news of what we've been up to and what we're working on and looking forward to.
Yeah, so I'll start with what we did this week. So Monday on September 29th, we had a membership meeting. That was really fun. We had some counties represented, and we talked about potential monthly incentives, recruiter rewards, top recruiter reward ideas, a potential membership drawing that we could do next year, and different county programs. So I'm really excited about that. But all the membership drive stuff will be voted on at the December state board meeting. So that was just to throw ideas at me, because I'm just one person. It's just me and her most of the time talking about stuff, and we're like, we need fresh ideas. So that was the basis of that meeting. So
yeah, it's really exciting to be able to say, hey, like, we might think something's a great idea. and
you're like, hey, no, that's not what we want.
No, that's not what they want. And so we want to create programs that are what our counties want and what our members want. And so that's one of the easiest ways to do it, is to host these meetings and get their feedback. And so we're really grateful for the people that joined us and for their thoughts and ideas that were shared. So I think we're putting together some pretty good membership programs. I'm excited to see it. If you are curious about what they will be, you can look in your January magazine. Seems like a very long time from now. But you can look in your January magazine, and we'll cover all of them in detail.
Yep. And so I'll start with what we did last week, when all that was happening. We were at the ACLC session 4 at Petty Jean. It was our media training and advocacy session. It was really fun. That one's probably my favorite because I like advocacy, telling people stories. That's just my thing. So basically, we had a new speaker this year, Miss Emma Kaufman. She's an NCBA trailblazer, and she has her own company called Double E Ranch. She's pretty cool. The first time I got to meet her. And so she put the session on for us, kind of had some leadership training in it, different things. And she stuck a camera in her face and was like, all right, tell your story. So,
Yeah, and she also actually does work in the media.
Mhm.
And so she is a journalist. She's an ag reporter, but still she's a reporter. And for a local news station there in Texas where she lives. And so she was able to give them like real world practical advice and tips of like, hey, this could actually happen. And so I think it was eye-opening for a lot of them. I don't think that's their comfort zone by any means.
And she was playing devil's advocate a lot and really, really pushing them. And it was interesting to watch, but it was a lot of fun as well.
Yep. Yeah, and her point was like, are you ever going to be put in this position? Probably not. Like, Cattlemen's is not necessarily going to put you in a position with a reporter that is not ag friendly as heavily, but you never know where advocacy doesn't have to happen behind the camera or in front of the camera. Advocacy can be having a conversation on Facebook with your neighbor, with people in the grocery store, whatever, and you don't know what kind of situations you're going to be in. And so it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, I've been attending that session for almost 6 or 7 years now, and every year I feel like it's different, and every year we get a little bit of a different spin or a little bit of a different benefit out of it. And so, no, it was a good one. And they did a panel. She did a practice panel interview with them. She did practice media interviews where she literally did just say, hey, here's your camera. We're on your farm. Answer these questions.
Tell your story.
Mm-hmm. And so it was a good one. And so that was great. We were at the Winthrop Rockefeller Institute, and so that was very nice. We loved being able to go. We always love being able to go up there, and it feels like you're taking time away from the city, and it helps with the members of the participants of ACLC because they are. I mean, it's not that far away, but it's further away from home, and so it's not like, oh, well, I'm just going to run somewhere and go and do something. You're on top of Pettigene Mountain. You're not running anywhere.
That's true.
And so it gives them the ability to focus solely on what we're working on there at the advocacy training. So it's a great location for it too.
Yep. And so that class only has one more session left, and that is their beef short course. So with that, 2026 ACLC applications are now open, and they close December 7th. So if you have any questions, please call us. Please let us know. There are 5 different sessions each year, and we do actually have those dates and kind of sessions planned out already. They're on our brand new website. So if you want to go out there, check it out. It's under our development section of our website under ACLC. So.
Yep. So it's got the tentative dates. It's got the application. It's got all the requirements, all the deadlines. I will say the deadline for application is December the 7th, and so it is a little bit earlier than it has been in years past. So that is a Sunday. That is Sunday, December 7th at midnight. That is your 11:59, I guess technically. That is your deadline for applications. What the committee is looking for, I almost said we, it's not we, it's the committee. What the committee is looking for are people that are interested and invested in the cattle industry. Like, it's pretty much as simple as that. Like, that's what they're trying to find. And so answer the questions with that in mind. Answer the questions with, okay, maybe a few more words than 4. The more information you provide the committee, the better they can make the decision as they go into the decision-making process, because we do normally have between about 50 and 60 applicants every single year for a 20-person class. And so it's a very difficult decision for that committee. And so it's a good thing to take your time, although it shouldn't take you a day to fill out this application, to take your time and provide some thoughtful answers of what you're hoping to gain from the ACLC program, and then what your goals and aspirations are within the cattle industry. So
make your application stand out and really tell us who you are in that application. Please don't just write a sentence, because it's hard to base somebody off of just a sentence. They're like, okay, that's all we know about you. So please write in detail as much. Brag on yourself.
Yep. Which feels awkward sometimes.
It does.
It does feel awkward.
Yeah.
But it's beneficial. So that program is completely funded by sponsors and fundraising for that program, by sponsors of the ACLC program. And so it is completely free to producers to apply and to go through the program. And so I encourage you, if you've thought about it, if you at all consider it, go check it out. Think about it. Listen to the thing we have coming next, and you can kind of hear what their experiences are. Guidelines of the program, I will let people know. We do require that. Maybe require is the wrong. We do encourage people to be at least 21 years old to start at the program, and then from there is no end age. There is no top age. The committee does lean towards young beginning producers, but we've had grandpas, we've had 21-year-olds, we've had all kinds of people in the class, and so the diversity amongst the class, I think, helps as well, because it helps them learn from each other, because they're all in the same industry, but they're all in kind of different stages of lives. So it's interesting. It's a good combination. So what do we have next? What do we have after this?
So since the last session was a media training, at the end of it, we're like, all right, real life experience here. We put that camera and these microphones in their faces, like, all right, tell us about ACLC. So we have 4 ACLC participants that we interviewed, and we're going to show y'all here in a minute. So
yep,
about their experience, how they've been, how they like the class, what sessions they love, and what they like, why they applied.
Yep.
So
if you don't believe us, believe them.
Yeah, they're actually going through it.
So you get to hear from them. So it's a fun part. It's a good piece of it. So this one may be a little bit longer than normal episodes, because one, we did have quite an update for the federal side of it, but also because we have those interviews and those conversations. And so I encourage you, check it out, and then we'll see you next time on the Arkansas Cattle Business Podcast.
Yep. See y'all later.
So, hello and welcome to this episode of the Arkansas Cattle Business Podcast. I am your host, Michelle Buffkin-Horton. You see, probably if you're watching online, a little bit of a different setup with us. We've got a TV behind us. We've got 2 people here with us. So really excited for this opportunity to talk about our Arkansas Cattlemen's Leadership Program. So if you will, these are 2 participants in our current class. So if you will, tell us about yourselves, where you're from, what kind of operations you have.
Hi, I'm Carol Johnson. I'm from Cleburne County, Arkansas, and we have a cow-calf operation.
And I'm Dennis Finley. I'm from Hot Springs County. We have a cow-calf operation as well.
Perfect. And what motivated you to apply for ACLC?
I'll take that one first. So for me, we had joined the ACA, and I wanted to know, basically how that membership benefited me, as a producer. We have our county meetings and things, but I wanted to have a little bit more in-depth understanding of what the ACA was about.
Perfect. Carol?
I think for me, it was learning the network and re-engaging with the Arkansas Cattlemen's family, because it is a family that represents the industry, and I think just re-engaging and networking with others that do what we do.
Perfect. All right, so this is going to be a loaded question because we're not actually done with the program yet. And so we have one more session, but applications are open right now. So I'm going to ask you, so far, what has been the session or the speaker that you have enjoyed the most, has had the biggest impact on you, and why?
I'll take that one first, if it's okay. I have really enjoyed visiting the other farms. I think that being exposed to other farms across the state, whether they're larger or smaller or the same size as our own operations, it's really given us a different perspective on the beef industry.
Love that.
Yeah, well, it's hard to pick one, and visiting the farms was really great. But actually, I think I've got more out of this session because I never really considered myself an advocate for the beef industry, and just to, get trained up and how to be properly talk and interview has been really beneficial for me.
Yep. Yeah, I love that. And we do, like I said, we still have one more session. So they have a final session in Fayetteville in November, which will be a beef short course. That's always a fan favorite for sure. But what is something that you learned through ACLC that you didn't expect?
For me, coming from being a small producer, I didn't expect to be able to network and mesh as well as I have with everybody. I mean, it doesn't really matter what size operation you have. We all have a common goal, and everybody here has been great, helpful, and give you the shirt off their back, and it's been awesome.
And I think I see more of the representation from Arkansas Cattlemen's and our beef checkoff dollars from our state office than ever before. And I think that's been very valuable to go to the state capitol, work with the Department of Ag, and see Arkansas Cattlemen's best represented.
Yep, perfect. Love that. The last two questions for you. What advice would you give to someone that's considering applying but isn't quite sure about applying for ACLC next year?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Because I actually thought about applying the year previously, and I just hem-hawed around about it. Didn't know if it was for me, but after talking to lots of people, I would encourage them to just go ahead and apply. I mean, it is an awesome program. You're meeting awesome people, and you're going to network with not only your class, but other classes, and basically you're going to have friends for life.
Love that. Anything to add, Carol?
I think I would say ditto to everything he said. Yep.
Yes. No, I love that. And then if you could go back, this will be maybe a little bit more difficult question. If you could go back to that first session, what advice would you give yourself that first day walking in February this year? What advice would you wish you'd had at that point?
I'll take that one. I think my advice would be to be more vulnerable, to go in there and just know that everyone's got something different to learn. Everyone brings something different to the table, and just be vulnerable where you are to meet the others and to learn all the information.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. When you get thrown in with a mix of people that you don't know, a lot, it's kind of uncomfortable sometimes, but you kind of let your guard down and just realize that they're just like you, so.
Yeah, we have a lot more in common than we have differences, for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
No, I appreciate it. We appreciate your time with us on this episode and really just sharing about what the ACLC program has provided you, but also why people should consider it. So like I said, the applications are opening right now, and they'll stay open through December. And so if you have people that are interested, I encourage you to apply. So anything else for our audience?
No, just thanks for having us.
Perfect.
Yes,
thank
you
y'all
so much.
All right. Welcome to the second part of our panel discussion about our Arkansas Cattlemen's Leadership course. Again, the applications are opening up soon, and so we just wanted to have some of the current participants share their insights and their experience with you about the class so far. So if you will, please introduce yourselves and let us know where you're from.
Hi, my name's Hannah Robbins, and I'm a cow-calf producer from Franklin County.
I'm John Armstrong. I'm a cow-calf producer from Boone County.
Perfect. And so why did y'all want to apply for ACLC in the first place?
I described this yesterday. I'm a serial learner, so I enjoy the opportunity to learn and add to my education bank. I'm a first generation, so I did not grow up with cattle, or I'm not nearly as familiar with them. I joke that I'm married into it. And so this was a way for me to kind of add to my continuing education bank and have more resources and network and get to know more people in the industry.
Perfect.
Likewise, I have a passion for learning, but also I'm very interested in sharing that of what I learned to help others improve upon themselves or their operations as well.
Yep. Perfect. So what, so far, which I'll put the caveat in of we've still got a whole nother session to go, but so far, what has been the most impactful portion of the ACLC program for you?
I think the policy session was actually the most fascinating to me, and I think sometimes you can hear the word policy and think that it's not very shiny or very exciting, but I thought it was the most eye-opening, and it was interesting to see what the Arkansas Cattlemen's is doing on growers' behalves, and I think that is where a lot of the strength comes in the Cattlemen's is because they're providing those resources and providing updates and information and advocating on our behalf that we may not always see in our day-to-day cattle operations.
That makes my legislative nerd heart very happy, so thank you.
Right.
John?
For me, I think it's the different farms that we were able to visit. Not every farm is alike. We all have different elevations or operations in which we try to do things to see that even though we're different, we're all still very close together as to what we're striving for. Other than that, actually this session here is one of the ones that I like a lot because it just opens up your ability to be able to speak in front of others, be able to have conversations and not feel like everybody's staring you down is how I that's what it's done for me. I enjoy this.
Yeah, it gets you out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Get to practice something that maybe you don't always practice, but can be beneficial all around. So along those lines, that segues good into our next question, which is, how has ACLC helped you grow as a leader, either in your operation or in your community?
I think it just adds to the confidence level and having not grown up in it. I think sometimes you can come in, somebody else previously mentioned that first session we went in maybe a little guarded, and just to be aware that everybody has their own information, and it may be a little niche or it may be different than the person next to you, but there's a lot of good information there. And so I think it's just added to the confidence and then propelled that continual learning.
Perfect.
I'll agree with that. It's the confidence building that allows you to get out and talk with others and not be inside a box, because when you're in a box, I feel like you restrict your learning abilities, and being able to get outside that box and converse with others and see how they do things, it just makes things a lot easier to move along.
Perfect. I love that. And then what advice would you give to somebody that is hesitant to apply for ACLC for next year?
One of the best pieces of advice that I got when I was considering whether or not to go to grad school, one of the older students said, just go talk to people and get an array of experiences, an array of opinions, and just take all that information in and then kind of think about it for yourself. And I think if you spoke to any of the 20 people in this room about what our experience was and if we would suggest it or not, I think all 20 of us would have a different perspective, but that all 20 of us would say, go for it, whether you're first generation, whether you're seventh generation, whether you have a cattle farm, whether you don't have a cattle farm. I think there's room for everybody at the table, and I think ACLC has done a phenomenal job at capturing all those diversities within the room.
For myself, the ACLC is an opportunity for learning. Anytime you have a chance or the opportunity to learn something, whether it's on a daily basis or a weekly basis, take that chance, learn something. You'll be surprised at what you're capable of doing just by expanding your knowledge. That's how I look at things, and this program is exceptional for that.
Perfect. Thank y'all so much. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your feedback and your guidance, and hopefully your encouragement to future ACLC people. So, thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is the Arkansas Cattle Business Podcast, your trusted source for all things cattle in the natural state.